you bet.
Thank you very much. All right, welcome everybody. First up, we have our annual public hearing on the budget for fiscal year 2014-2015. Katie, would you read whatever notice we need read?
Public notice is hereby given that the tentative budget for the Village of New Paltz for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2014. The draft budget is available for review in the office of the Village Clerk of the Village of New Paltz at Village Hall, 25 Plattekill Avenue, New Paltz, New York, where is it available for inspection by any interested person during the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the office of the Village Clerk beginning March 27th, 2014. The Board of Trustees for the Village of New Paltz will conduct a public hearing on the tentative budget on April 9th, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. at the Village Hall, showing all changes, alterations, and revisions as may have been made by the Board of Trustees. At such public hearing, any person may be heard in favor or against the tentative budget as compiled, or for or against any item therein contained. The following salaries proposed to be paid for each member of the Board of Trustees is Mayor $50,000, Deputy Mayor $10,000, three trustees each $8,000. The Village of New Paltz will make every effort to ensure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Any room requiring special assistance or reasonable accommodations should contact the Village Clerk.
Thank you, Katie. Before we get started, just so you know, we have two department heads here, Nancy Branco, the Village Treasurer, Luta Williger, our Head of Public Works. So if there are specific questions about budget, they're here to also answer our questions. So with that, I'll open the floor up to anyone who wishes to speak. Yeah,
you don't mind if I sit to you?
Please.
Thank you. I am a big proponent of people receiving compensation for what they do. When I was running the branch office of the multinational corporation here, we had a schedule that we came up with based upon what we felt any position was worth, and it had a range. You started at so-and-so, and you went up to Y, and you didn't go past Y unless you changed into something that was a betterment for the company. That being said, never did one of our employees say, well, I'm worth X amount of dollars. Saying it is or it isn't. I'm just saying that's the way we looked at it. It was the people who were responsible for what went on, and and responsible to other people that would decide what the value of any person's contribution to the company was. And as I said, it reaches a point where your contribution is just Y. Not that we didn't give cost of living. I don't want anybody to misunderstand. Because we never wanted to hurt anybody. But if a job was worth $100, it was worth $100. If you couldn't do more than that, that's where you stayed with your cost of living. The problem I have here is in a couple of areas. Number one, the increases are being spread over a very small tax base. Most of your people are tax exempt. So anytime you do something, and this board has done a lot of things, not, in my opinion, not for the village residents per se, but for certain little groups that had impact and effect on everybody in the village. Like, for example, the approval that's, I'm sure, is coming down the line on Mr. Niffin's downtown New Paltz that will be put in behind me. That will affect everybody. But this was done for whatever reason, for a small group. That's not representing those of us in New Paltz, that are saddled with the tax burden. The tax exempt places, like the college and like Woodland Ponds and like the other stores and areas that all have tax exemptions, they get, in my opinion, from what I see, they get everything, or they get the services, and whatever they want, they get. And those of us have to bear the brunt. Now, I understand Jason's position, I really do, in terms of what he has to do. But in my mind, and I could be wrong, he has a limited number of people that he's dealing with in terms of, for example, the people who live in my development, we never saw any kind of improvement, this, that, or anything, from the town. We got a lot of ordinances that restrict us from doing things, but nothing positive, nothing to help us along. Whereas Woodland Ponds gets it, the college gets guess, whatever they want. And it's if you're running, if I'm running a business and I have 300 employees that I worry about and take care of, it's not the same thing as running a business that has 1,000 employees, but I'm only concerned about the 300 and I don't care what happens to the other 700. Again, this is, I'm not making an attack on anybody, this is the norm of what happens. People are friends or they're lobbyists or whatever, they come in for their little pet projects, and this is what happens. I mean, this is not a massive, you know, again, the Village of New Paltz is not really that massive when you take out all the people that are not stakeholders. So all I'm saying is I think partial consideration has to be made, one, to those that are going to have to pay for it, and two, I don't know what Jason does. I know a lot of things, I like what he does, and I'm not being, you know, and there are a lot of things I don't like. I mean, Jason knows that. But when it comes to being paid for what you do, that's where it has to, you know, where you have to make a decision. You're the people that have to make a decision. We, as so-called employer, if you will, although we're not really, can't make that decision. So we have to rely on the people who are making the decision to try to make it fair. I don't want Jason hurt, and that's not my point. I just want it to be fair for everybody. I mean, I know Jason has to make a living, I know everybody else has to make a living, but when you add additional taxes to the low tax base, then those people, and I'll use myself as an example, who aren't fixed, have to sacrifice something, and I don't mind, you know, I mean, there's a whole give and take and everything, I believe in it, but at some point, the people who are getting the benefit have to say, well, you know what, maybe I have to give up a little bit too. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Who else? Kamiko?
Hi, my name is Kimiko Link, and I'm a resident here in the Village of New Paltz, and I'm here to support the budget and the mayor, the deputy mayor, and the trustees. I think what you all do is tremendously important, and I think you are all probably undercompensated for what you do. I know the amount of time that each of you spends, because I've worked with some of you, and there's no way that you could be appropriately or proportionally compensated, but I do support a living wage, and I do support all of you making probably a lot more than what's even in the proposed budget, because I think yours are some of the most important positions in the village, and I think it's unfortunate that you don't have the ability to in your, I guess, how many hours you're supposed to work, that you can't be more. It'd be great if all the positions could be full-time. Because I think, like every day I wake up and I feel so happy to be in this village and happy to be living here. And I think our quality of life is just tremendous. And yeah, of course, I would rather not pay so much in taxes, but if like supporting a living wage and being able to get high quality candidates into these positions, if it means an extra $100 or $200 in my tax bill a year, I would be happy to pay that, because I think you're all doing a wonderful job. And I think to get the best and the brightest, we need to be able to compensate the individuals for their service. So I know every day I'm so grateful, and my family's really happy to live here. And I think one of the reasons that the vacancy rate is so low is just because it's such a great place to live, and everybody wants to live here. And if you do a comparison of taxes in other communities, I have friends who live in Kingston who don't have nearly the quality of life I feel that we have here in the village. And so if you compare to other areas, perhaps they're paying a little bit less, but I feel like we have so much more in this community. And I think the demographic is very progressive, and we have a lot of visionary people, and there's so much that can be done here to even make it better. And so if that means some extra compensation for extra hours, I think that's warranted.
Thank you, Kamiko. Anyone else to speak to the budget? Yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah, my name's Ray Parker. I sent an email to all of you telling you what my position is, and that's that the salaries should remain what they were prior to any increases that are put in. If there's a cost of living increase warranted, that's appropriate, but anything greater than that would be, I think, a disservice to the community. I think it's very self-serving to get into office and vote yourself a raise of the magnitude that you're asking for, Jason. And you knew what the salary was coming into the position. You took the position, and you should take the salary as it was offered when you ran.
Thank you, Rick. Who else? Don? And then I'll go through people who haven't spoken, and then if you have another comment, we'll get to you a second.
I'm back in the corner, so come up where see people. I look forward to working with all of you on the Environmental Policy Commission. Hope to have that body fully seated this evening. I do want to speak about the budget, specifically about the salary issue. And as I have perceived it, there's a bunch of people saying, which side are you on? Are you on this side or are you on that side? And I imagine you've been feeling it a bit, Tom.
It burns a little in the lower back.
And I'd like to just speak from my personal experience in being on boards and leading a board. I had to get Patrick Rausch and Edgar Rodriguez and Steve Greenfield to agree. And the point is, when it was something serious, when it was a big issue, when it was a major issue, we made sure that every vote was unanimous on the big ones. Because it's important. And I think that this board has fallen into dysfunction in some ways. And I think at least its personal relations. And I think the height of the magnitude of the tipping point when it really went that way was that vote late at night with regard to the mayor's salary. And I was there, and it was the meanest thing I've seen in ever going to a meeting. It seemed to me to be personal. I can't see people's hearts. So, with regard to which side people are on, and I'd like to direct this, Tom, to you, because you were a college president. You've been in the hot seat before, and I would challenge you to try to find a better solution. Maybe it's not A, maybe it's not B. Maybe there's some way that this board can find a way to come to something that you all can agree on. Maybe there's some, and maybe it might be hard. But I think it's for this community and for the operation of this unit, I think it's time for some team building. And I think this is an opportunity to do it in this issue. And I just know if there's we're not going to come out of this room until we figure this out. I think anything could be figured out. I think over the course of these budget deliberations, you have that opportunity to take a lemon and make lemonade. I hope and I pray that you can find the wisdom to do that and restore this body to harmony.
Thank you, Don.
And this village around it.
Thank you, Don. I know I saw Kamiko had another comment. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken? Andrew.
I just want to say a couple of things. One is that, for me, I really need to separate out issues of compensation versus, who's sitting on the board. And in order to do that, I need to know more about what the job description is. This has always been a problem for me. I know there's much more work for all of you to do than, you could ever list. And you'd never get it done no matter how many hours there were in a day. But I think it would make it, for me anyway, it would make it easier to have an opinion about compensation if I knew, okay, well this is what we are expecting of the mayor's position or the deputy mayor's position or the trustee's position. These are the minimum amount of hours that are going to be required in terms of attending meetings and being available, in the office, and and start with that. So start with that. What would be a living fair wage for those number of hours, and then figure out. I know this is very hard to do, but figure out what it is as a community we are expecting our elected officials to be able to accomplish, and that would make it easier for me to have judgment about compensation. I mean, personally, I don't think any of you will ever be compensated enough for what you do. And, I would agree with Kimliko that I'm happy to pay another $100, $200, whatever, on my tax bill to offer you this. I mean, I don't know if that figure is correct, but anyway, to offer you this compensation in this budget. I would be happy to do that because I feel like all of you do this much work. But in any case, just aside from that, to take it away from it being personalized, it would be easier if I understood if there was some sort of job description.
Thank you, Andrew.
The other thing is, I didn't do my homework, so I don't know why.
Maybe I can help you.
Yeah, maybe you can help me.
The job description of the mayor from NICOM, this is a salary for all village mayors in New York State.
Okay, I will look back.
Anybody else that wants to see it, look.
The other thing is I didn't do my homework, so the first time I'm looking at the budget as far as public access, and I see that there's a significant decrease, maybe like,
We took 8,000 out for the live wiring.
To live wire this room,
Yeah, it was in this current.
so we wouldn't have to have a physical person here at every meeting.
oh, good.
That's all.
That's how much that costs?
And we're hoping to
We
get it
think,
done
not
this
really.
year. It was in the budget for this.
Okay, good. So I mean, everything's the same as far as filming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
what I'm
great.
saying.
Good, thank you.
Kamiko, you had another comment?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm following on, I'm sorry, what was your name? Andrea's comment. I agree about the compensation, as I mentioned before. And I also feel that even if whatever those job descriptions are, I know that each and every one of you goes far beyond what that job description says in terms of the number of hours that you devote to all of the issues that you're working on. Because I've had that personal experience. I mean, you work far and above anything that you're expected to do. And I think one of the reasons why we have such a great community is because of the dedication of individuals like you. To be able to compensate you, you'll never be compensated, even with this, enough, but to be able to compensate you in some way, I think helps us preserve the quality of candidates that we have in our town village board. And I also, and the mayor and the deputy mayor, and I also feel like the amount of work that's involved is way more than is in there. And I think your position is considered a part-time position, but I certainly feel like...
It depends on the year. Sometimes it's full-time, sometimes it's part-time. The state defines it as neither full or part-time, just all the time. Yeah, no, judges have actually
I
said
mean,
that, yeah.
the way I see it, it's a full-time position. I mean, basically, almost all of your positions are close to full-time. I mean, maybe half-time for some of the others, but, you know, I've always seen it as it's a full-time position, and I don't think it's any less important and should be any less compensated than the supervisor's position. So I sort of feel like it's just as much work. So.
As the supervisors.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that goes for many communities. I've seen this issue in many communities, that, you know, the village mayor gets less than the town supervisor, and I feel like that's often very inequitable because it's just as much work. There's just different issues.
Mm.
So if you're going to have two parallel governments, they should sort of be matched. So.
Thank you, Kamiko. Other comments on the budget for this year? Tim, yes?
If I have a comment that it's not related to the salary or the budget.
If it's not related to the budget, we'll have public comment in a few minutes.
Okay.
So this is a public hearing, so we're just gotta finish that first.
I'll move the hearing because.
Oh, hold on, we have one more comment. Hold on.
I think I'm gonna stop this.
Whenever you're ready, Aaron.
The other point that I just wanted to add to was, I don't know what mayors or whatever in other towns make or don't make.
It varies widely.
Yeah, it
depending on the
varies
community.
widely. And the only point that I wanted to make about that is that I don't know is that New Paltz is a unique community. You can't fit us as I told the park, you can't fit us into this little square box because we have so many sticks out here, sticks out there, sticks out the other thing. And all I'm saying is, if you're going to make comparisons, you got to try to make the best comparisons. May show higher, may show lower, whatever. But I've come across, particularly like in the town board too, where people will come up with, well, Harry makes $13,000 and I only make $2,000. Well, that has nothing to do with anything. It's a different town. They have different requirements. They have different things. And all again, as I said, you know, I'm looking for fair compensation, and that's all I'm saying. Where you know, people don't get hurt anywhere along the line. And you know, like when I used to do union negotiations, the first thing I was taught: if both people walk away from the table unhappy, you did a good job. And that's all I'm saying. Because I said I've heard this. You know, well, they, you know. And you can't make comparisons. Newport is unique. It has unique problems, and it has unique people, if you will. Thank you.
And maybe that's why we have problems.
Thank you, Adam.
Right.
Any last call for public hearing comments tonight? Because we have two options. We could close it as Sally is. There's now a motion on the table. We could, though, for the public's understanding, we must adopt what the public hearing tonight is on the tentative budget, which is kind of the first draft. We have to adopt the final budget by May 31st of this year. So we have 3 more meetings between now and when we have to adopt it. So if we could, if we chose, hold the hearing
We
open.
have one more meeting.
Yeah,
Even
you
then.
can only hold it up
No,
until April
We
20th.
have to adopt it.
By May
Oh, by
May
right,
1st.
right, you're right. So 2 more. So anyway, if we chose to, we could hold it open for another meeting. But there's a motion on the floor now to close it. Is there a second?
second.
Okay. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Where did my agenda go?
Flip it over.
Oh, it's under the budget is where it is. Yeah, it's under the budget. All right. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stumble, I lose my word. That's what screws me up. Yeah. All right. There are a few additions to the agenda. Give us a minute to get some housekeeping done. There was something I left off by accident from Sally regarding, was it 168?
198.
Chapter 198. So I asked that we add that to the agenda. Sally also has, we have the Moriello invoices, which Nancy can speak to as well.
That's
If you-
on there.
It's
That's
all
on
there.
That's all on.
It's all there? Okay.
Yeah.
And there was something, Blue, you had something, yes?
Yes, we went out to bid for our truck that we bonded for back in September. I had to accept the lowest bidder, which was Vision Ford from Rochester, $44,811, I believe.
Yes.
They were
Yeah.
very competitive bids. The next one was 46 something, the other one was 47,000.
Oh, good, so we're close.
Yes.
So I'd like to add that to the consent agenda.
And the street closure, you want to add that?
Yeah, and the street closure, is there any objection to adding the bid acceptance and street closure to the consent agenda?
No.
So added.
And then there's the 125 Main Street.
Yep, I'm getting
Thank you.
to that one. And that one is again from Blue. So would you be willing to stay a few minutes so we can get to this? Do we need, well, I guess, does this need to go on that, do we need to discuss this 125 Main Street, or does this consent agenda material?
We had a request to, and we tabled it, I think, the last meeting, 125 Main Street for further information at Blue's.
That was at my
request.
request, yes. You had the original, my original correspondence from the last meeting, and then you have the additional correspondence for this meeting.
So you'd like us to act on it tonight?
That's at your discretion.
All right, well, I'm just going to make like an omnibus motion here to add that as well to the agenda, but not consent. And also add the memo we have on LED lighting. And I'm sorry, and I guess we don't need your.
Take number 3 off the consent agenda for discussion.
The regatta?
The regatta.
All right. And then Sally's had taken notes on our odds and ends adjustments to the
Yeah.
budget. That doesn't require its own budget,
No,
its own agenda item, just an FYI. And Nancy, you went over this with Sally?
Yeah, it was items that were
It's
discussed.
in the
Okay.
packet, yeah.
Okay, just checking. All right, so with those changes, I'll move to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, public comment. So Tim, that would be you.
Sure. I appreciate that the board has recently made a change in terms of single-family homes that can be renovated or added onto, where now it has to be reviewed by the planning board instead of just going through the building department. But I'm really concerned by the new construction that's taking place on the property at the bottom of Mohonk and Water Street. You know, it seems like, you know, that was one of the most egregious offenders of, you know, taking the spirit of that rule where you could add on to an existing property, where they did that at the bottom of Mohonk. And now
There's a reason I wrote that law.
Right, and now
Yeah.
that same property owner is building something, because from what I understand, students are signing leases to live in this building that hasn't been constructed yet. But I want to know, is this new project being reviewed by the planning board, or has it fallen back in, you know, was it grandfathered in based on older rules?
There's
I'm just very
two
concerned about
phases. This gets,
developer and what,
yeah.
the type of stuff that he's building.
Mr. Cafferty has two things going on that may cause some confusion. One is an extension to an additional building, which is right on Mohonk Avenue. He built another building basically attached by a breezeway. He also has a proposal for, I think, up to 156 people to live kind of next door on that upslope, right near Ariana's house, actually. So in terms of,
They're two separate properties.
That's what I mean.
One is to Mohonk and one is Pennsylvania.
so you're talking about the one that was already constructed, or one that is just on
Not the one
paper?
that's been constructed, the one that he's broken ground on in the last couple of days. So there are construction vehicles.
Okay, actually Rebecca and I saw that they haven't broken ground yet. The guy is moving the equipment up, but they haven't done anything because I mentioned specifically that you can't. We have a law in the villages that you can't do site work without planning board approval first.
Right, so that's my question.
Yeah.
Has
From here, I'll give it to Tom, because Tom's been going to the planning board meetings, and I haven't. That does it up the extent of my knowledge of it. Has it hit the planning board?
No, it has not. It's out of the hands of the planning board because of the lawsuit. That was the settlement. He has been issued a building permit,
He has been issued a building permit.
and that was a court order.
Okay. I'll have to reread that judicial decision then. I mean, we can get you a copy of that court order if you're curious. You can read the terms of the settlement. There was a lawsuit.
I
regarding
recall
the property.
distinctly our conversation regarding this and the settlement, and none of us were aware of this until Kurt brought it to our attention at a later point in time, once we had already agreed to the settlement.
Right. It would have had to happen after the settlement.
No. I'm saying we agreed to a settlement that included this property, but we were unaware of what we were agreeing to at the time of agreement when we spoke with the attorney handling the case and our former village attorney. And Kurt, at a later date, after all of it was said and done, brought to our attention that this was something we agreed to without having knowledge of it.
Okay. I have no idea how to react to much of this because I don't have any papers in front of me. What is your question specifically, Tim? That might help.
Should it go through planning board review?
Right,
Is that-
is this being
that's what you're asking?
approved by or has
I'm sorry, Tim. Could you say
has
that
this
again?
project been approved or reviewed by the planning board?
Apparently
And-
not, according to Tom.
Well,
And then
and
Blue is saying
we just, yeah,
wouldn't even need to because of
court
All
order.
issues were resolved in court.
so the settlement allows him to build.
I don't know. I don't remember the settlement off the top of my head. Ariana obviously does.
I do, because I was very upset when I found out we agreed to something I was not aware of in the meeting where we agreed to it.
Ariana's understanding is my understanding.
That our lawyers lied to us and settled with something that we didn't agree.
I would not say there was lying involved. There was definitely, I think that's a strong word to use. I think that, we were not given all the information we needed in order to make this decision, and I think it was an oversight.
Okay.
Yep.
Ellen?
I have two questions. that are part of this. The first question is, is it the case that this settlement, either legitimately or otherwise, that this settlement is allowing whatever will be built to be built without planning or review for site plan design, traffic study, anything that would ordinarily take place in seeker, and that it's going to house 150
No,
people?
that's a separate parcel that he would like to build on that would have to go through all the proper reviews.
So the property that is being built on, according to the terms of this settlement.
The structure that's already up,
allows what?
yeah. Allows,
Number 2 Mohawk, right?
It's at 2 Mohawk Avenue, not at the Pencil Hill property, which the plans were going to adjoin. I don't know all the details, but you weren't prepared to answer your question today.
What I don't understand is this. Regardless of what the terms of the settlement are, is it the case that the settlement approved the site design and all of those kinds of things without planning board review? Because I have to say, I'm almost done. I have to say that if that's the case, then, and given the feelings of at least 2 board members, that we need to perhaps take a look at whether we have a case against the attorneys or attorney for leading us into
well,
this.
before we get too far down the road of worst case scenarios, maybe, Katie, could you please post the settlement on the village website so it's available for anyone to read themselves tomorrow? That way, let's all look it over, make sure we're not either jumping the gun or misunderstanding something or whatnot, and hope that Ariana and Sally missed something. But if they haven't, then we'll deal with that.
In posting,
as
would
necessary.
you please at the same time send it in an email to the chair of the planning board and the chair of the ZBA?
That's a fine idea, yes, please.
And also a copy to Will Frank to review, please.
I think that would be
And
excellent.
maybe a copy to all of you guys?
I have a copy.
We'll look at the
I think
website.
everybody's had a copy.
Yeah, we've had it.
Yeah, we
I think Will
don't
has one
need.
too.
Okay,
So, all right, so
that makes sense.
that information will be prominently up for the public review tomorrow. So please come back, and I mean, I'm going to read it again, but please come back if there's still problems after you read the full text of the settlement. We don't want to get into a game of telephone,
Right.
things like this, you know.
Right, yeah, but the conversation where there was, where I felt we didn't get all the information was not when we were reading a physical document. That was after the fact.
Okay. Ira.
Yeah,
please.
I just, item number 11, I just wanted to thank the board for at least discussing that. People gets
We
really
talked
affected
about it
by
at the joint meeting.
Huh?
It was talked
Yeah.
about at the joint meeting.
No, that's
That's it. I just hope, I don't know if it will,
separate.
that it has more effect on the people who are going to hurt everybody than, or stances did against the college in Wilmerite, where the government said, we don't care if you get 4, you know, I appreciate it done, I just saying, I don't know what else could be done, because
Well,
we're talking about politicians who are, you know, have no concept of what little people have to go through.
Well, you'll notice that this resolution comes from Jen Metzger, the Rosedale Town Council. So there's a lot of municipalities sending the same information to Central Hudson.
I just wanted to thank you for at least following up on
Jason,
that.
maybe since Ira brought up Wilmerite, it ought to be announced that this morning, the Ulster County IDA awarded the pilot to Wilmerite.
And yesterday, thanks to
Yesterday.
Mr. Rogers and his colleagues, the town planning
Monday.
board,
Monday night.
Monday night, said they would not approve the FEIS if they got a tax break. So it's going to be an interesting set of court papers going
Yes,
back and
it
forth in a
So
few months.
it's
Yeah.
up in the air.
I've been doing my push-ups.
Any other public comment on anything you'd like to talk about? Hearing none, I'll close
We
public
need an ice
comment.
cream stand up on the.
Just shut up. Just go find some ice cream later. All right. I'll move the consent agenda absent item number 3 with the addition of, that we made.
5?
5 what?
5 on the
So,
consent agenda?
We'd already approved the agenda. Did you want to go back into that?
Well, it wasn't on the consent. No, I mean, if nobody else is, then I don't need to bring it up.
I don't have a problem with it. The only thing that I noticed was there was no indication as to travel in terms of mileage.
It's in New Hampshire. We could just do the math.
Yeah, I know, but
All right. So, but the point is the consent,
I don't mind
the
at all.
consent agenda is there for
Yes.
things not to be debated.
yeah.
So if you want to remove something, just say remove it, and we'll discuss it later.
No, I'm fine with it as is.
Okay. So absent number 3,
It's just
and
that
with the addition we
numbers
made
are-
earlier, my motion's on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Since this is the last thing Blue needs to be here for, let's talk about 125 Main quickly. And then we've got a couple of interviews to do, but I'm assuming people will be patient with us.
Do we have any budgetary, does anybody have any budgetary questions involving DPW that we need Blue for? I know about the UTV and that, but
And Nancy, are you prepared to address the Moriello pool?
The invoices?
Yeah.
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 But that's a separate
Without
agenda
Blue,
item.
without Blue.
They're
That's
all
fine.
fine.
Okay, good.
They need to be
Okay.
paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry, let me bring this back. We can still talk about the budget, but right now we're talking about 125 Main,
Yes.
since Blue is here.
Mm-hmm.
We had requested more information, and Blue, your recommendation is to reimburse them, or did you not take a position?
I
Where
do
did I-
not take a position, all I do is report the facts the best I can.
Okay, what does the board want to do?
The board can do anything they want at their own discretion.
Thanks.
All I do is give you the facts.
Well, the facts are that there was, or apparently there was an anomaly, something,
Excessive use of water, yes.
but we don't know.
It appears to be some sort of leak. In the one picture, there was a toilet that the stain line was way higher than the fill tube. We have not caught this property on leak code. These meters do not lie. Water has to pass through them in order to turn. They cannot run fast. They actually slow down over time. As I say, it's at your discretion, whatever you wish to do.
All right,
Any bill.
you know what, to move this along, I'll move that we decline the reimbursement, since the water was used, whether it was used as a leak or on purpose or not, it was still used.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now, are there any budget questions for Blue? Remember, Blue is now not only the head of Public Works, but as a managerial experiment, overseeing the building department and planning department. So any budget questions for those 3 arenas, as well as water and sewer, this is the time or place. So anyone have any questions on the board?
We got in the packet one of the questions that was asked and we have not resolved, and that was the LED lighting. That is something that was asked to be considered for the budget.
Oh, and we got information about it at the
Do you
table.
have that information that Katie just gave out?
One of these little tabs?
Yep, but it should say LED.
But I didn't see a total of how much it would
Oh, I
cost
don't
us.
see that on yours.
Well, it's a performance deposit of 100 to 150 per light.
And we have 300 lights in the village.
How many?
Just over 300, 276, I think.
Okay.
Or just under 300, I'm sorry.
It's really not to discuss now, it's in case anybody has any questions for Blue about it.
Oh, okay. You're right.
I don't have an answer, son.
All right, well, that makes it easier. All right.
I got it very late, but because I was harassing to get it in time for your budget conversations.
The other budgetary item that was a biggie was the recommendation that we buy a UTV, what I call a golf cart, but Blue tells me I can't call it that, that's incorrect. That I think you have the memo on that, which shows, the cost of what it costs to rent the cart to water the flowers during the month.
Yep.
We could use it to take the money to the bank from our meters and collect our money, and we can use it on the rail trail instead of the pickup truck. And those all are questions that Blue.
Let me fold in two things, because
Okay.
there's that vehicle, and Lou, you were there in the meetings more than I was about the pros and cons of having a vehicle. I know we had discussed this, but I thought maybe hear it from the horse's mouth. If you could give us the pros and cons of both purchases,
Bulk purchase?
or
Well, we rent a golf cart.
yeah.
It's $300 a month for the 3 months or 4 months we have it. So basically, we're looking at $1,200 a year. UTV could be multi-use vehicle. We can use it in Hasbrook Park, rail trail, water plant property, sewer plant property, any maintenance issues. We can buy attachments for it, down the line. We can buy a snowplow for it, and coin collection. Locally, maybe the building department can use it for some inspections instead of mileage.
Mhm.
So
And
that's,
I have the brochure, which I'll pass down the table for everybody to look at.
And do you still feel that a vehicle, like a sedan of some kind, would be a wise purchase for the?
I do. We just had a question about mileage
Yeah.
for business.
Could you go in, because we had a debate about this. Could you go into a little bit about the thinking behind why that's a wise purchase for us?
Just my department alone. Myself, Nick, and the mayor, when Rebecca was actually supposed to go to Waterville to look at their sanitation department. I had to borrow a truck from the town that fit more than 2 people in. Our trucks are single cab trucks. We can fit 3 people, but anything over an hour, you're not going to be very comfortable. And we had this conversation with Sally. I took Sally up to Kingston for a DEP meeting. The mayor was supposed to attend with us, but the mayor did not make it with us.
So I got to go because I could fit now.
Otherwise, poor Sally would have been squeezed between me and the mayor.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. I mean, conferences, anything from, any of the board members, the building department, my department, general running around. I mean, Nancy does a bank run once a week. Roseanne runs to the bank twice a day, post office once a day. It's something that could be there and be utilized by everybody at a minimal expense. I think our prices were $14,500 to buy one outright.
And that'd be spread over a 20-year.
Yeah, that was a Ford Focus hybrid. Something cheap off the state bid.
Right.
But the cart, what, UTV?
UTV, yes.
UTV has much more daily use.
Yes.
Will be used all the time, will save us money in terms of renting the cart and all the things. It'll save us in having pickup trucks going down the rail trail at a much more expensive per mile, per gallon fee. We can use it in Hasbrook Park to do setting up and all sorts of things. We can use it for carrying some of the parade, whatever those things are called. So practically speaking, the board may decide not to do either, but.
Or both.
Or you could do both, but if it were, we'll get much more use out of the UTV. We can get it at state bid, and it's $8,475.
Yeah, it was just under 85.
About it. So that's for discussion later too.
I have a question about the UTV. In terms of taking it on the streets and roads, is that okay? Are we allowed? Are we like? I mean, I see the golf cart, or I just called it the UTV watering the flowers. It's on the sidewalk.
We can register it just like a motor vehicle.
Oh, okay, all right.
Our roller, if we're rolling macadam and asphalt, actually has a license plate on it.
Okay. All right,
It
cool.
becomes an official vehicle.
And connected to that, of course, with what came up was how much do we spend on mileage reimbursement per year? Right now, it's $1,000. That's it for everybody.
Have we looked back on that far though?
I just did the year.
Just did a year? Our
Yeah,
building
we don't
department's been a little
usually use
short the last couple of years. So we haven't done that much, so I'd
Well-
actually like to see from years ago.
Right.
They did
Actual
away with
mileage.
a lot of the mileage for building inspectors. They have them walking more now.
Right.
So it came up to
Well, that's
a
good.
little less
That's
than
what we-
1,000. I rounded it off to 1,000.
But this trip right here is gonna cost some money.
Yeah, you're probably looking 500 miles round trip.
Yeah.
Those
Here's
are
the one for
only
conferences.
Budget things I think
That's
Jason.
gonna cost.
It's like $250.
Yeah.
It's gonna
More than
Jason,
200.
It's gonna be more than that.
included any budget items that we need Blue for.
I think so.
It's pretty far away.
Is there any other questions for Blue, or can we send him home for the night?
Wow, you probably hooked a snow blower to the Bobcat, right? Yeah.
All right, so, yeah,
It would be nice with the sidewalks.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would save you money. It's definitely gonna be nice for Pine Collection. You won't be running the truck with all the fumes. Right now, when they do Pine Collection, they take the
Lou,
truck now. 'cause
we're
it's
going to be discussing the personnel
They don't
situation in
have gas
executive
fumes,
session.
you get everything.
Did you want to stay for that?
It'd be nicer.
No, I reviewed the letter from
I'll
Will.
even use it to
Okay.
bank.
It's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
good.
Thanks. So you're good. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Nancy, we need you for a little bit longer. But
Run while you can.
I am gonna, run fast before someone thinks of something else. Nancy, if you wouldn't mind holding off for a second, we've got a very brief
Thank you, Blue.
presentation by
Take care.
Dave Clauser, professional engineer, and Tom Rocco, professional trustee, on an update on our ongoing soap opera with New York City over water supply.
I just want to be clear, I am not a hydrogeologist, and I don't play one on TV. But we have an
Except for
engineer who knows about our water systems. Dave, could you, this is a briefing to the board, and obviously, therefore, also to the public about the status of freshwater exploration phase 2, which is fully funded by New York City DEP, and we are in a quite advanced state of that exploration. So David.
Thanks, Tom. We started looking for a backup water source in December. Our contract runs through June, the end of June, so we're about 60% of the schedule now is gone. We spent about 55% of the budget so far. I thought this was a good time to bring the board up to date. There were 3 principal parts of the investigation. We need to meet 700 gallons per minute demand, which is about 1 million gallons. The village system has storage right now for about 7 days of use. The backup water supply has to provide the village with 10 weeks of use, so we're looking for water. We were looking for groundwater sources. We were looked at the existing village reservoir system, trying to see how much water we could count on from that. And also, the third part was the Wapkill River as a source. On the groundwater source, we were looking first for the shallow sediment deposit sources. These are kind of sand and gravel lenses that are beneath the clay, and as it turns out, the clay is very deep. We found several pockets of this. We didn't find what we were hoping was another little stream in the clay, but we did find several pockets. Several of those looked very encouraging as far as the amount of water that could be taken from those areas. It was really a tough winter for this work. We were plowing snow to get into to do the drilling. An interesting time. The drillers were glad to be working, but not usually working in that kind of weather. The next phase of the investigation, as I said, we did 94 shallow borings. I have a map over here, but I'm going to try to make this brief. There were about 7 of those borings that we couldn't go deep enough to find out what was really there. There was some really good cobbles and gravel. The drillers couldn't go deep enough they were afraid they were going to lose their rigs, actually. So we have a big rig that's coming in starting next week, and we're targeting those 7 areas that we found. Interesting stuff there.
It's very hard for lay people to understand this, but the engineers and the hydrogeologists actually get very excited about baggies full of gravel.
This is gravel that's made during the glacier that was receding and advancing. And we also were looking for the deep deposit. The old Wapkill River is about 200 feet below the river that's there now.
In the
And-
same stream bed?
Not
No.
necessarily.
No.
Actually, moved quite a bit.
It's an Oxbow
Yeah.
River, so it has a new path.
I think that there's been enough very interesting information discovered about the stream beds of the Wallkill that there could be at least one or two professional or academic papers that will come out of this, including one about a very steep, over 200-foot cliff that's down below the surface, a wall that could be compared with some of the cliffs in the Gunks.
And where is that?
It's down below, well, not right below where we're
Yeah.
sitting, but, down along the Wallkill.
Okay, nice.
It's about Locust Tree area.
Okay.
It just drops off. It's amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing off there.
Huh.
It could have been interesting.
Wow.
That rock's 400 million years old. So
Right.
interesting stuff there. We're also looking at developing a fracture trace analysis. This is for bedrock wells and trying to look at the geologic features of the valley. That we can find two fractures that come together. According to the hydrogeologist, that's the place to drill for bedrock because that's where the most water in the bedrock will be. We also have some bedrock wells that are already drilled that we know about that can be connected. What we've been trying to do is stay close to the village infrastructure, so whatever we find, we can plug right into that. We've been moving out as we go to make sure that we really map the valley. We've also been modeling the reservoir, the existing reservoirs. The 3 reservoirs are up off Mountain West Road. We took the plant performance data since 1999, which was the last real drought that we had, and have tried to get a pattern on usage versus rainfall, trying to develop a model so we can predict how much the reservoir will contribute during the shutdown. It looks like it's about 100 to 150 gallons a minute. We're refining that model at this point. So that's about 15 to 20% of what is needed just from the existing reservoir system.
So I'd like to note that Dennis Larios has done an exceptionally good job of tracking this almost on a day-to-day basis. We had information previously that tended to be gross information, like year to year, what was the flow and what was the demand, and also, so what was the rainfall, what was the flow, what was the demand. But we got much more refined information now. We know much more about what our own plants and our own reservoirs can produce than we did before. But we got that, of course, from our own plants and reservoirs, from those guys who were up in the mountains.
It's much more than we thought.
It's more than we thought. I don't know if it's much more, but it's more than we thought.
Mohawk's weather station is up there. It's been going for the last 100 years or so. And they keep excellent data, and it's right close there. So we think that's a good correlation for that data. We've also, at the same time, been trying to get ready, if necessary, to pursue the permit for the Wallkill River. It's an arduous permitting process. We need to know when to start on that. The DEP is suggesting that we consider picking this up, going a little faster, thinking that the end of June is coming. We met with the Department of Health back in January. We've been taking water quality samples of the Wallkill monthly. The requirement was for at least a year's worth of sampling and analysis. I've got 2 reports back. The third one sample was taken, but I haven't got the report back yet. It's remarkably clean. It's surprisingly clean. I say that knowing that there was ice cover too under it at the time that the first 2 were taken. The process for the permits seems like every agency is involved in this. Of course, the Department of Health They approved the source and the treatment method. The DEC is the water withdrawal permit that requires a preliminary engineering study, both of the intake and the treatment system, and also the watershed and the withdrawal out of the river. The earlier report showed that even in the drought condition, there's the amount of water that would be taken out of the Walkill was very minimal. I think it was something like 2% or thereabouts, even during drought condition. So the source is definitely there. The Corps of Engineers is another permitting agency because you're putting something in a navigable water. It could be Clean Water Act associated with that, depending on how much stream disturbance there is. SHPO's involved, cultural resources, because we get hits on everything around the Walkill. And also depending on the particulars of the intake, FEMA could be involved, Natural Heritage Program for threatened and endangered species. What the village will be doing as we go along here for the Walkill source is you'll be conducting a secret study of that. Also some public outreach and education. I think my 10 minutes are about out, Tom. We're really encouraged about what we found, and I think next week's drilling to really find out what's down in those pockets that look promising is going to be good.
One question.
Yep.
Did you take a picture of Trustee Rocco on his snowshoes at the rig?
No.
For the archives?
No.
I missed that.
No. I avoided having any pictures taken, but I was really happy to be slogging around up in the mountains with the guys, as with the guys. I'm the only non-scientist, non-engineer in this troop, so.
But you do a very good job.
Well, I impersonate, actually, I don't. I try not to. Let me do one or two other things.
He's camera shy.
Among the explorations that we will pursue now will be at least one drilling and testing of existing wells on the other side of the thruway. I believe everybody knows that on or near the Plessa properties there are already wells, and we will pursue one exploration over there. I have had one meeting with the supervisor and staff at Lloyd after consulting with the mayor about previous meetings that the village and the town of Lloyd had quite some time ago. Dave and I will schedule, it's not yet scheduled, but we will schedule an additional meeting after we briefed a small group of the principals in the exploration about my first meeting. We decided I should go with an engineer and figure out all of the cost factors that we can figure out at this stage of development. That's it for the actual explorations that I can think of. And then I wanted to say that David Michaud sent his regrets for not being here tonight. He would ordinarily have been here. But he's on the planning board in his town. And he had to be at a meeting tonight.
His priorities are obviously screwed up.
And he wants us to know, however, that he would be happy to brief the village board or members individually about all of the DEP perspectives on the explorations that have occurred up until now. And then finally, I want to let you know that Dave and Dan and I will be attending a conference on water operations down in Westchester County. This is a DEP operation that's sneaking me in. I know that I'm saying this publicly.
No one
It's sneaking me in since I'm not an operator of any sort, but a village board member.
Thank you so much.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you both, Sally.
I would just like to publicly thank, I mean, Nico was talking about, you know, people working above and beyond. And I would just publicly like to thank Ash, his colleague, Tom Rocco, for all the time he has put in on the water. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
It's been great fun.
And thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
I get excited about this stuff because this is a really weird thing that I just realized. A few years back, I have a friend who owns a well drilling company, you know, with the rigs, and he actually hired me as a freelance to write the sales manual for his sales staff. And I learned a lot, and it was more just the writing skills, not the knowing about all this stuff, but it was really interesting to go through all his books and learn all this stuff about welling. So when you mentioned the
So you know about the big rigs they're gonna bring in?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
There's some
It's
that
pretty
come from
interesting.
Ohio.
Yeah,
They're very expensive.
yeah, some.
They're very like.
Well, I hope they're successful.
That's great,
All right.
wow.
Well, thank you, Dave, for coming out and waiting
Thank you, Dave.
patiently.
Yeah.
We've got 3 people here specifically for something on the agenda. Nancy for Memorial Pool, Andrea Russo here to be interviewed for a possible position as board secretaries, and Joanna White to be interviewed for the Environmental Policy Board. So let's just go in order, because I think the Moriello thing should be fairly quick.
I'm going to move that we pay the Moriello bills outstanding. What none of us realized is that they were all connected to the major handicapping and thing that we did 2 years ago. The bills were just late in coming to be paid. They were a part of the 63,000 split in half capital project we did. However, I've also asked, and it has been agreed upon by the mayor and supervisor, that at our next joint meeting, we will have a discussion about timeliness of bills submitted and what a capital project is as opposed to an operating expense. And today, I'm happy to report that our Blue met with Chris Marks, and rather than the two boards fighting over what's a capital project and what's a day-to-day, they have come up with definitions for us, which they will present, and that will be a part of the joint meeting. So I'm gonna move, we just wipe off the invoices, pay them, and be done with it.
Yeah.
It's true. I spoke with
Second.
Blue about them. We reviewed them.
You're comfortable with everything
Yep.
Sally said?
Yep.
That's
And you're
great.
comfortable with the definitions they've come up with?
Yes.
Okay.
Blue's working on it. so.
Okay.
Don't
Then,
open them yet
all in-
unless you can be sure that you don't jam your computer.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a
Okay.
problem closing the document when I opened it, so just be a little careful.
So I didn't open it.
What format is it in? do
It's
you
in
know?
Word, but it came through on maybe like 2 different computers before it got to us.
Oh.
So
Oh,
just be
it could be
careful
one
with
of the
the
older
opening. I told
versions.
Sally
Yeah.
to be very
She
careful.
told me not to open it,
So,
and I
do
didn't.
we second this?
I tried to
Yes.
read
It's already been seconded. All in favor?
Actually,
Aye.
Yeah, PDF it and then send it out.
I'm trying. All right, since we do these in public, Joanna, would you want to join us here? And then, would the board like to go into executive session to interview Andrea, or in public? And Andrea, what would your preference be? Either way?
It can be public, it's
Okay. Joanna?
Hi.
You are interested in our brand new, or not brand new, our refurbished
Who's employed.
Environmental Policy Board.
I am.
That's personal.
Could you tell us your interest? And you guys are just recently village residents again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually for the first time.
Yeah.
Well, welcome home. And
No, welcome to.
Thank you.
welcome to. So you're interested in environmental policy?
Yes. More than that and more globally than that, I'm just interested in preserving what we have here in New Paltz. And I mean, just beyond New Paltz, but we have so many natural resources and we have so much worth preserving. And I also think that on the other side of that, the people here really deserve to have the most as far as environmental resources. And I think that we also need to look at alternative energy, but we need to look at affordable alternative energy, because I think that for a really long time, it's kind of been looked at as if you want to be green or if you want to, be sustainable, it's going to cost you. And I think that one of the great things about New Paltz is that there's such a variety of people. You've got college students and you've got working class families, and everybody should be able to afford to make these great choices.
Great.
So.
And so
Awesome.
the way we've set up this new policy board is everyone kind of takes on an issue. So is that what you're most passionate about?
I think that
Affordable
alternative energy, yeah, and affordable energy.
Great.
And you have a copy of...
Yes.
I think it's wonderful that you want to do this, but I understand that the ZBA wants you to.
No, they can't have her. They can't have her. Don found her first. She's on the environmental policy commission.
May I flip
I found her first.
No.
I knew she was moving to the village.
Get back.
She already has her secret decoder ring.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not going to... Okay.
No, you can do both. There have been people who Liz Harshaw actually was on the Shade Tree and the CBA.
Well, just so you know, if you're looking for somebody, if there's nobody stepping forward, I'd be happy to do both. I'm really,
Yeah, see, there you go.
well, I'm really passionate about environmental issues, but like I said, I'm really passionate about New Paltz in general. So I would really be happy to help in any way, in every way that I can.
We do have a vacancy, Jason, on the ZBA.
Hush.
We won't do that tonight.
Well, why not? She's
I'd like
here.
to move. I move to appoint Joanna Weiss to full commissioner
Second.
on the environmental policy.
Second that.
Already did.
Second already. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Your chairman will soon have your business card.
Thanks for doing it. Hi.
We don't require tights, but a
Contact me
cape
once
and
you
a
can
secret
sign the,
identity is.
Do you have the code book with you?
I do not, but I've just given Joanna my card so she can contact me in the morning.
Okay.
All right. And Andrea, would you want to join us?
Oh, wait, no. We're going to do executive session.
Yeah.
You want to interview her?
If it's a paid position,
That's why.
it's personnel.
That's why I asked before. I don't understand.
I know, and we both still in the
All right. So I move that we go into executive session to interview Andrea for
Second.
something or other. All in favor? Aye. We'll be right back. Give us 5 minutes. It shouldn't take longer than that.
Should I get the false argument? So yeah,
Okay,
we leave the meetings at 7 in your voice.
Yes.
So that's pretty nice.
Whoa.
And is Joanna's last name spelled W-E-I-S-S?
What was you saying?
Not for much longer, though.
364 days in a year, except for about.
I'm gonna have to
The settlement's on the website. The settlement's already on the website, so you don't have to worry about it in the morning.
Oh, good.
You installed
Do you have those more yellow invoices where you copied on them?
Yeah, they were in the packet.
No, for the maintenance and the capital projects?
No, that I don't.
I'll give it to you in the morning in PDF to everybody, remind me.
All of a sudden, the river's included for a day. And we can jump in the river.
I warned Sally not to open the file because I couldn't get close. It ended up with like 15 files of the same document, so that told me
That there was a problem.
something was going in with that file. I couldn't close it, I had to do like a complete shutdown.
That's all.
Oh, yeah. But like, when you hear situation reviews, like, oh, it's fine, my dog's from no, it seems like, oh my god, if you touch it, your fingers, your eyes, so I thought, so it was good, like, have them come in, to have a conversation. They wanted to just come in, and said, why don't we do it as like a town board, or do you move your office over to? What I thought would be interesting too is to, a coalition of towns along the Walkill, like New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people are gonna want to do this, and have the discussion to say, all right, what can you do locally, wise?
Well, they started building since they started.
As well as advocate for their state and federal officials to get funding.
There's a medical thing, there's me, and there's a hair salon.
This may just be a total.
Large portion of her.
But
Yeah. Have they given any indication of the quality for?
I don't know the 2014 numbers, I just know
You don't
the
necessarily
stuff that
know
we're
about it, but I think if,
I
I was curious about the days and paying a cleaner
I was curious about it.
maybe just that it can be treated in a way that's sufficient.
Also, I was like,
Crossing the radar screen for that.
you know what I mean, like, the stuff that the FDA says is healthy, you would maybe consider healthy as well. You should go to our next joint meeting, we're gonna have Riverkeeper come in.
So that, yeah, I'll be good. I could be able to yell at somebody anyway, I'm sure.
You're gonna what?
I could be able to yell at somebody anyway, yeah.
So what do you guys think
So if the school district had 40 net new kids added to the district this year, you know, it's like we're one of the few districts in upstate New York that's growing.
Sure.
And, you know, not when a new kid shows up doesn't mean that we have to spend $22,000. But with a $50 million budget, divide that by 2,300 kids, that's $22,000 per kid. Right? So when you have, you know, a kid could show up with a bunch of special ed needs that could be way more than 22. So it's not like one kid affects us incrementally. But you really have to look at material additions. And if, see, my concern with Park Point.
That's 1.5 teachers.
What's that?
That's 1.5 teachers.
Right. So my concern with Park Point is we can say, and I've fooled around with all these different numbers where if we have 700 new beds, that equals X number of households, even if you take a real conservative estimate of how many kids would be in a household, like 2 or 3, 4, 6, something like that. If you add a 2-bedroom,
845.
you can generally say that 20% of the time, or you would add something like 22 kids per 2-bedroom. Right, so I guess like 100, like we build 100 2-bedrooms, increasing our housing stock, that's 20 new kids. So, so if the college is building their dorm, and
I almost always check it. He went to the bathroom.
between 700 and 1,000 new.
Is the camera off? Most specifically, is the sound not recording on the DVD in addition to not going out to the world?
Is actually allowing for de-tripling to occur. So I think they're saying that it's not really 225, it's like 44 new. So.
Look at that adjunct, it's another adjunct that we use.
Right, so
You know,
even with the faculty, you know, there's X number of kids showing.
Village of New Paltz.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so
Let's take a
let's,
5-minute break.
no, we
Come
should
on,
take one
guys.
soon. Just to put an executive session, because we're working.
You want to do budget?
Let's, is anyone here, well, let's ask this, is anyone here for something other than the budget, something specific on the agenda?
Yes.
Dan?
I was hoping to listen to the Repco conversation, but.
Okay, Repco?
To move it out.
No, well, it's fine, Repco and the budget, and anyone else?
Yes, I want to move the will you make the recommendation to appoint the secretary to the
All right, I move to appoint Andrew Russo as Secretary to the Environmental Policy Commission, subject to the terms set out in the budget of the next year.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And we appointed Joanna.
And I'll move the resolution on Rutherford.
Rate of pay? Rate of pay?
That's why I said under the terms in the budget, so that when we, as we discuss the budget later.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to move the Repco presentation. I'll second that. Any discussion?
Discussion, it was supposed to go to our attorney, it did not. So
this
the
was
language in it, well, read it, it says a place that is not here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also the wrong place.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it says the place listed is not here.
Where did that come from?
Oh, are you talking about on the resolution as a different town name?
Yeah, I'm
That's
getting.
because that was the draft.
Right.
I know, that's what I'm saying, we're supposed to go to our attorney.
So you'd like
and
to
he
send
was-
it to our attorney?
I mean, I don't have any problem with it. We can approve it pending,
His approval.
his edits.
Okay.
That's all. That's all it
You
has
take
to
that as
be.
a-
I'll take that as friendly amendment.
And I'll take it as a second. Any other discussion?
No.
Not Andrew.
All in favor?
Aye. Good night. Thank you.
That was pretty quick.
That was good.
All right.
Oh, you can let Mark know. Mike.
I want to work with you on that.
Do you want to quickly do the budget part?
Yeah, let's do the budget so that Nancy can go home, yeah.
I'm good.
While it's still fresh in our minds, let's do the Environmental Policy Commission thing. What were we?
We were saying we would have an additional $250.
Do you have the
Of
additional?
course she does.
The additional.
I am moving
Yes.
Okay.
that we put an additional $350
I thought it was
under
$250.
the Environmental Conservation Commission line for supplies and expenses.
$250 or $350?
$350.
Okay.
I'll second that.
How come you got the 350?
Yeah. How did that happen? We discussed
She
$250.
loves the environment.
I added $100 for conferences.
All right. Cool.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'm into that. You know I love the plan.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Sally, do you have anything else to move for the
Oh,
budget?
yeah. I'm moving,
Do you want to
Is
make
that
it
a question?
Give me
individually
one
or do you
second.
want to move
move
them
them individually.
omnibus?
Wait,
Okay.
give me 1 second.
I
Pop
am
up.
going to move.
Wait, Sally.
Sally, hold on.
Just give me 1
Can you
second. Pop
just-
up from a different place. I just don't want it to be messed up. I'm sorry.
Nancy, do you want to take care of the letter?
It
Are you
has to
gonna
Getting
do
it.
the warning?
It has to be me?
Yeah, it has to be.
said
I thought it was certified. I thought that's
No,
what
no,
it
it
said.
has to be you that,
That's fine.
and delivered by you.
Yep, no
you
problem.
and, the supervisor.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready when you're ready.
I was thinking certified return receipt is what I was thinking.
To
Make sure you make a
correct our
copy of that.
omission
To the
and
building
move
next
that
door?
we give a 3% salary increase to the Secretary of the Historic Commission.
How much percent?
Second.
3% increase.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I am going to move that we transfer $243,000 out of the fund balance to cover a one-time expenditure of $25,000. We are currently moving $218,000 over. I'm adding $25,000 for a one-time expenditure to fund the rescue squad for 1 year only. And qualifying that with, there is going to be a major discussion by the joint boards on this topic.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'm opposed to this. I still think it belongs in the A fund, but I'll just say my piece.
So this is a 1 year only.
1 year only to the rescue squad. The town put 25,000 in their B fund, so it is not being a double dip.
Well,
And I'm not happy, but I think we have a responsibility to honor something, and we should not make the rescue squad the victim of miscommunications and misunderstandings between the two boards. And that's what's going on.
And I think the effort must be made for us to work together better.
Together and to get some donations and sponsorships.
So that this isn't an issue in the future, but I think for this year, this is the way we have to do it.
Maybe when they do their contract, they should make sure they have
Yes.
enough money in it, so it goes in the right fund.
So please understand.
So maybe you guys can look at it.
This is a transfer fund balance.
Because that's what
not.
They're working on it and didn't.
Right.
We're not raising it in that sense. In fact,
We're taking it from our savings
Coming
account.
to you.
We're taking it from our
and
savings
putting it
account.
into their B fund.
Got it.
Whatever
All right.
they both agreed on didn't meet the needs.
Well, the rescue squad approached us all.
I'm sorry, hold on. Wait, one at a time, Nancy, whenever Nancy and I
The rescue squad approached both boards in November, saying that they were looking at the additional
But they do a contract
employee.
every year with the town, right?
Right.
So at that time, they had.
That's when this
It's
should
like
have
how we
been
do the fire
with the
contract.
fire department. Right.
It's the same thing. So when you give a contract, you make sure you cover everything.
Perhaps
That
we
wouldn't
can
go right
have a
in.
daytime joint meeting and Nancy could join us for this discussion. I gave her a copy of the budget of the rescue squad and I've reviewed the funding of this with her.
I mean, I'm not sure what all the particulars were with this, but
You mean the committee meeting, Sally, for the rescue? You mean our committee for the rescue squad?
When we decide how the joint boards are going to discuss this and their behaviors with each other on topics such as this, maybe Nancy can join us for some of the expenditures.
I just think when the contract's being done, it should be done
Yes.
for the right amount.
Absolutely.
They just go,
Yeah,
it's like how we do our fire
But there's more involved in this than just the joint boards. The joint boards have to come up with a process in a way of approaching users of this service who are not paying their fair share. Okay?
All right, there's a motion on the table that's been seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No?
Now, one of the questions that you asked about, there is no money, as I told you, in our proposed budget for conversion to gas.
Right.
Okay.
So the generator, it's being borrowed?
That's
I have that money already sitting aside. We already borrowed that money.
Got it. Okay,
We have
understood.
that money.
And so I was asked about the generator specifically because they were asking. I was asked if it was going to run on natural gas, and I said it was. But I remember us talking about it being dual burning. Is it dual burning?
At first,
or-
it was designed to run on diesel fuel.
Okay.
And then it was switched to natural gas, which is cleaner burning than diesel fuel.
But that's not. You're not answering my question. Is it dual burning or not?
No.
Okay.
It's just a single fuel that I'm aware of.
Okay. I'll ask Blue.
Have they even ordered it yet?
No, because they don't. Because there's been we voted twice to convert to natural gas, but have held up.
Right.
moving
But we have the
forward.
money for that. We're all set.
Okay.
Okay. I think,
yes, but I don't know how much money.
did Blue say $100,000 for conversion?
Yes, but he was also talking about working with Central Hudson to see if they have some kind of a program out there financing this conversion and using their people.
And one of the questions that came up was, can it go out for bid? No, the answer is that if we do, we should go with Central Hudson because they have the cheapest.
And that's who was going to contact you about.
Well, wait, you talked to Blue about that?
Yeah.
Or okay. I mean, I still would like us to look into other things, and I've been doing a lot of research. And one of the things that actually Jason had brought up a while back that was sent to all of us. Actually, it might have been before the two of you were on the board, but it might have been the last time you were on the board. In 2007, there was the biodiesel feasibility study. Part of it was part of that study was that it was found out that our boilers at that time, which are different boilers now, could be easily converted to use veggie oil waste. And there's a program in San Francisco where they collect it from the restaurants and what are you wagging your
We're
finger at
having
me?
a budget discussion, not veggie oil.
Well, I'm saying I don't want any money in our budget for anything that we're not necessarily moving forward on.
Well, no, I'm sorry. We've twice voted to move forward with natural
You've
gas.
only once voted.
Twice voted to move forward with natural
But
gas.
what I'm going to suggest, as a matter of compromise to my two colleagues at the end of the table, is that we put $100,000 in the budget for conversion to an alternate energy, and the decision will be made in July which way to go.
You're shaking your head, Nancy. That's a lot of
I think
money.
you're better off just go out to borrow for it.
Yeah.
I'm getting under 1% interest on
Right.
the demand.
Anything around
Remember
100,000 we should be borrowing.
Like, what interest?
All right, if you put 100,000 in, you're gonna just up your tax.
That's a 5%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
Fair.
do you want a motion to?
No, I would wait till you get to that point and you're just gonna.
We're at that point, Nancy.
Oh, you're at that point.
We've agreed twice that we're going to do natural gas. We've got the money
We
for
have
the
prices
generator.
on what it's gonna cost to do this?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is now it's includes in yours hands to get the bonding paperwork and the prices together.
But did Blue notify Central Hudson like he had said 2 weeks ago? Or he
If you were
was
still
going to
here,
talk
I
to
could
them about
answer that. I don't
financing,
know.
what kind of programs
Because
they had
I
going?
did ask him the question that either Ariana or Rebecca raised at the budget meeting, and that was,
I was told
Do
that
we have to go with Central
$100,000 is
Hudson?
high.
I think it seems high. to me,
I
so
was
that's
told
why
that
it might
100K
be
is
way
very
more.
high for
I don't
this,
know.
the cost of this conversion.
yeah, and Blue
I think it's
said
high also.
that
It
because
seems high to me.
they are doing, the Precision Pipeline, is that the name of it? Is doing, that they have the best program and the
Yes.
cheapest offer.
And he
That's
was
what
going
told
to
us
talk
at the
to
meeting.
see what was going on
Does
there.
it make any sense then for us to make a motion that we set aside up to $100,000?
No, she's saying no.
I think
No.
you're better off to
Bonding it.
borrow
Borrow it.
But the bar.
or see what Central Hudson's offering for financing. I mean, they might be offering a great
We don't put that
program.
in the budget.
Do we need a motion to borrow?
I don't think you're there yet. You can't really go out to say a motion to borrow when you don't know what the prices are.
That's out of the budget, gang.
Yeah, I would take that out.
It wasn't in the first place, I think.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, what's
Moving on.
keep her moving, will you?
Because I
She's got the list, and you're right.
Sidewalk reserve fund is taken care of.
I saw, yes, I have your note.
Okay, we need to make a decision on car versus UTV
Or
versus
both,
nothing.
or neither.
I recommend we go with the UTV because I think that we will have, the payback will be almost immediate. It will take 3 years to pay ourselves back for it. And what we pay $1,400 a year to rent a golf cart.
I agree with this, and I would move to add the UTV to the budget.
You wanna do it?
Yeah, I'll move it.
I'll
I already
second.
have 4,000 there, we only need 4,500.
A second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
And how much more?
You only need 4,500 more, you already have.
Yeah, we're adding 4,500 more.
No other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
What do we got?
Although, given the 8,000 you got back just recently, what a coup that was. We paid for it.
We do this?
Okay. We're to LEDs, gang. I don't know what you want to do with this because we just got this. And I haven't had a chance, Ariana.
I've barely even been able to look at this.
Is that something we could do this year? Isn't that something we talked about?
It is, and that's why we have this information, is because we would like, in theory, we would like to move forward with something like this, but
Well,
it's more a matter of what we can do.
275 lights. Anybody have a calculator with them?
Yeah.
275 lamps, and it costs initial deposit because this 275. I think it'll be $100 per lamp, not 150. So that's
$2,750.
I thought
Yeah.
we figured like 3,000.
It's
27,500.
Long time ago.
$27,500.
Okay, and then if the annual cost
Yeah,
of
that
the
was
fixture
not for LEDs.
would be
yeah.
2310.
Yeah, well, we
Multiply
sent him to
275 by 2310 and add it to the 27,500.
$61,352.
I would recommend that we add that to the borrowing for the gas and do it this coming budget year, borrow the money and convert them all.
I'm in favor of that.
And second,
Okay. We're gonna.
I only have a problem with it because we don't own the lights. We're improving something that's owned by Central Hudson. But if it reduces our electricity bill,
Will it?
I don't know. It's
That's right,
theoretical.
yeah, you don't even know that.
yeah,
I mean,
it's,
Well, would we then own the lights and they would still own the poles?
No, we're
Or
just,
they would own, they would own the
everything.
lights?
We're just giving them $6,000 to improve their lights. That's what we're doing.
You would think that they would almost pay for it, as
Yeah, that's what I'm-
promoting energy
Right.
efficient and everything.
How about,
Okay.
we know the approximate cost max. How about we just not put it in the budget? Rebecca has moved,
Okay.
I've seconded, and that we will, if feasible, use borrowing and convert them. How's that,
Okay.
Ariana?
If you can't get Central Hudson to do
Say
it.
that again, sorry, I was just reading the memo.
If Central Hudson will do this and will give us a break for doing it,
Yeah?
and it doesn't cost any more than $61,000, that's max. We'll do it as part of the borrowing for the conversion and get it done. Doesn't go in the budget.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any more
Okay.
discussion?
I would like to invite Mr. Kotick to a meeting. Also because in his letter, he states that they are working on a rate A LED streetlight and should have something in place
By the end of 2014, yeah.
So if we could get more information on that, just invite him to a meeting and give us a little more information.
Yeah,
about
because
it.
I would also be,
Rebecca,
I'd also be willing.
That's a good idea, but I'm just trying to
Yeah, no,
figure
I'm
out
fine.
how the expense, you know,
I'm
if
fine
we're
with
gonna
that.
do this.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would also be willing to wait, you know, till the end of the year, because I mean, one of the things, like with the sodium vapor versus mercury vapor, Central Hudson had a program where they updated them, and we did not have to pay. So if Central Hudson's going to start to implement a program where we don't have to pay, and we're going to update to LEDs, then I think that would be a
Then
smarter way
let's
for us
get
to go.
Mr. Cotting here for the
So,
next
yeah.
meeting.
I'm going to make this is a suggestion rather than a motion. Given that we're
Yes.
cruising down towards a serious budget discussion at the next meeting, if we could have Mr. Cotting meet with Nancy and one of us.
You should be
Mayor,
with Blue. Blue should be the main.
Well,
Okay.
Blue and,
Yeah.
so rather than waiting till
Sure.
the meeting itself.
I think that's a
how
great idea.
Do you think we're going to need to have another budget discussion after tonight? We're whipping through the whole list pretty quick.
Okay, well, if we don't,
We'll find out.
happily.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
It just seems like a lot of money.
It's out of the budget.
Right, it's out of the budget.
It's not a part
It's
of the
another
budget.
discussion. Right, okay. So Sally,
Have that discussion at that time.
no.
No.
I would like to know
no matter
how much
what
it
route we
says
go,
us
we don't
in
put
what
it in the
period of
budget.
time
Right, I
before we
understand.
can.
I get that now.
Okay.
I didn't get that before, but I got that now.
You
Right.
you got it now?
Yeah, I agree.
We agree that the lighting, if we're going to do it, is gonna go into the borrowing, it's no longer a part of the budget discussion.
I think you have the motion on the floor, and I second it.
I think that's fine, and
Yes.
you know, that
So we'll-
Nancy and I just
Yeah.
sidebarred that, you know, looking at how much it would save us over time is a really important factor in spending the money and what our payback period would be.
Yeah.
But I mean, generally speaking, I'm in favor of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it will save us money based on what we
So
know
let's-
about LEDs.
All in favor?
Aye. All right.
Aye.
What's next, Sally?
And we did the cart, and we did LED. Do we have any information from the fire department, Rebecca,
In terms of
reducing the budget in order for a commitment to the new truck?
Nancy,
I haven't heard from
you
them.
haven't heard from them.
Yeah, they've run out of time.
All right, then.
Well, but I mean, have you
we've
been
been-
at their
we've been doing
meetings?
emails.
Have they
Yes,
talked about?
yes, yeah.
And so what did they
Nancy
talk
and I
about?
have been trying
She's
to.
been sending emails out, and I've been responding to them, but I haven't seen no response. from
Yeah,
them.
and
Well, what
at
about
the-
their meeting? At their
At
meeting?
their meeting, when their public meeting ended, I came out of the meeting with the chief, and we agreed that we were going to move forward. And they did feel that there wasn't much left to cut, but I still wanted to have a meeting.
I never heard from them.
Okay, but it hasn't occurred. So-
No, it
I
hasn't.
mean, have they brought us anything
Jason,
regarding the
as
truck?
far as I know, unless anybody can think of anything else, those were the outstanding items.
That's all I have. Anyone have anything, other adjustments to the budget? No? Then I'll move we adopt the final budget.
Maybe we'll try
Well, no,
meeting,
because we have to. do you
maybe we'll
want
try
an
meeting with
executive
Scott
session?
instead
Or
of
what?
the chief, because he's
That's
more
not
local, because
executive
Kevin
session.
does those,
It's not executive session.
you know, like,
You know what, at this point, if they're gonna adopt the budget tonight, once they
yeah.
they decide to do the truck, then they'll have to just, whatever you guys, you know,
Right,
they can leave
yeah.
something off their budget. Save the money somewhere else.
Okay, I mean, I made a
Wait.
motion to adopt the final budget.
And no one seconded it, and I still have,
I will move.
Oh, wait, you have more adjustments to make?
not necessarily adjustments, but maybe questions.
All right, then I'll withdraw my motion. I thought we were done with the
I'm just looking through everything and double checking, because I had taken notes today, but I think we went through most of it. There was something I had circled. I'm trying to find it.
I have everything that the board asked to be added to and included, and I'm going to move the adoption of the budget except for the elected officials, and we will deal with that in a separate motion.
I think we have to do that in the other order. We have to adopt the final budget after we've resolved all other issues.
All right, then let's resolve
You
the
gotta
issue.
just reverse it, that's all.
Okay, fine with me.
So if someone wants to make a motion to change what's in the budget, now's the time to do so. Okay, hearing none.
Oh, wait.
I'm
trying to
still
move it
looking for
forward.
what I circled, so you're gonna hold
on.
on.
The issue is a compound complex one, that is the issue of the salary.
Always has been.
And there are 3 different salary figures to be taken into account. Whether we have the motion to accept and then have this be part of the discussion, during which discussion amendments can be made, is okay with me. If that's
I think that makes it more
that's the
difficult.
way, it makes it more difficult.
Well,
Depends on what you wanna
this
do.
board has always voted on salaries separately, separate from
As a-
the
as a
budget, and
list.
then adopted the budget. So
Right.
Jason is right. I did the process backwards. We need to do a motion on the elected officials' salaries first.
Right.
I'll move that we keep our salaries what they are.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
Okay. So why don't you discuss, Tom?
Okay.
Because I think you're obviously the swing for the one person who hasn't taken a position on this in years past.
Yeah,
Let
and
me put it that way.
but you know, in truth, in lending, I want to say
You're lending now too?
This is a joke. Truth in lending. That I made a commitment quite some time ago, and I made it explicitly in conversation with the mayor, that I would remain open to budget discussions and to salary discussions until I was satisfied that I had canvassed all of the available sources of information and I had gotten the input that I knew that I was going to get from a variety of sources, and I have done that. So one of the sources of information that I got was the salary scales for all personnel that NICOM has available to them.
Did you look at the Association of Towns as well, by any chance?
I did not look at the association.
Because supervisors can often be apples to apples sometimes.
Well, the NICOM is the official organization for village.
And there's 364 mayors on the list.
That's funny. There's 550 villages, so I guess 200 didn't respond.
Not in the, or did not respond to this survey.
So you got what, 3 out of 2, 3/5.
3/5 plus a bit.
Right.
You know.
I'm clarifying something.
Yeah.
You'll have your chance.
Of the 364 mayors, 17 are paid more than our mayors currently. That's the best information that I can get, because there are 12 that are blank. So I don't know what they're being paid. And there are 32 that are listed at 0. So I don't know if they're really not being paid at all, or...
NICOM says they're not being paid at all.
NICOM is saying that they're not being paid at all. And one person is being paid $1. So we have no salaries for X number. We have 0 for 32, and we have $1 for 1. So the X number of those, I think, I don't know how to account for that in any averaging, thinking, or comparing. What I did was, and by the way, there are more data points than that. There are 13 salaries between $20,000 and $29,999. There are 9 salaries between 35 or 35,000 and more. There are only 3 mayors making 50,000 or more. However, there are 61 managers who make substantially larger salaries than that, for the most part, although the managers also vary sometimes dramatically. One manager gets 0. One manager gets only $2,000. So you see that there are oddities there as well. But I then sifted through to see if I could come up with better comparables. And so my better comparables are villages that have approximately the same population as New Paltz and have SUNY institutions or significant other universities in their populations. Geneseo, for example, has 8,031 people. The mayor earns $12,000. There is no village manager. Brockport has 8,366. By the way, none of these figures are now identical to what you would find in the village, because these were done before the last census was taken. So you'd have to, use the data points.
Adjust for inflation in your head.
Adjust and so forth. New Paltz, Alfred has 4,174. And they have a mayor who earns $4,000. Airmont has a community college, but they have 8,628, but their mayor earns $25,000. The anomaly in the group is Potsdam. Potsdam has a population of 9,428, so not extraordinarily outside our range. The mayor only earns 9,500, but they have a village manager who is paid $86,000. So that's the anomaly in the comparables that I can find. The range of population is close, actually quite close, with Alfred being the oddity at only 4,174. I know Alfred very well, by the way. I had a unit there that I visited with some frequency.
All those potters.
All those potters. And ceramic engineering. And a very important I got to know something about ceramic engineering.
And historically one of the famous arts and crafts potters.
Yes. At any rate, so...
it's all over the map. It's all
over the map, except that the salaries in excess of $22,000 is exactly 1. And that's a place that has a community college and is in Rockland County. That is to say, has a salary in excess of $22,500 and has no manager, right. No professional person in place. So it leads me to think that a proposal for a mayor in New Paltz, it leads me to think this. At $50,000 would be truly anomalous. It would be far in excess of anything that we see for a mayor of a village with a SUNY institution that is also comparable, more or less comparable to ours.
Except for the manager one.
Except for that's the amount.
The manager one and the 25.
Yeah, right. The 25,000 in Rockland County, and the village manager in Potsdam for a municipality of 9,428 at the time. So those are my comparables considerations. I've also then thought about the village manager issue. And we have done something already in this budget which is an interesting move. We have increased the compensation to two of our department managers' heads by $10,000 each to a total of $20,000, making them in some important ways really like managers. They are managing large operations of the village's departments. And if you think of that $20,000 as part of the professional compensation for
mayor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Right.
You know, part of that was because I was made part-time as well.
I understand.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is the mix that I've been struggling with, and doing this kind of sorting and thinking. So I thought that with that $20,000 already added to the budget, and the number of those very small number of positions that are over the 22,000, well, over 20,000, there are 13 positions, only over that, or between 20 and 30,000, I'm sorry, that we would be able to fairly come up with some number between the 42,500 that we would be committing with the 20,000 plus the 22,500, and move that as some percentage of like cost of living or inflation plus. And that could come out to something as small, if you think of 4% increase, 43,400 to you, 23,400, or something between that and 50,000.
He's in 43 total, including the 20 that we're giving, right.
Right.
For the two departments.
Oh, so then you would make the balance 20.
He's saying that comes out of my $50,000 salary. It's hiring Blue and Nancy.
Right.
But that's in the contingency line right now, so.
Well, this is, I don't.
But it doesn't matter.
At this
He's
moment,
saying
I don't
that
care where
the
it is.
$10,000 I'm giving you is coming out of my proposed salary.
Yeah, out of his proposed salary.
Because you're doing part of my job.
Right.
And same for Blue.
Right. So those are my general considerations. Who else has had general considerations?
I think you've done some extensive research there.
Yes, I've spent some time.
Yeah.
I think I'm sorry, were you done, Marianne?
Yep. Go ahead.
I just have a couple of comments because I'm tired of having this conversation. This is the 7th time I've had it. One is that, just to remind the board, I know it's not going to impact anyone's decision. Everyone at this table has already made up their mind before they walked into this room. And there's nothing that I or anyone is going to say to change anyone's mind. However, just for the public record, next spring we have an election for the mayor and 2 trustees. Being mayor requires daytime meetings, which means if you have a day job, you cannot run. If you have kids, you cannot run because the salary is too low for you to be able to have children and be mayor. So anything less than a living wage is saying to the public the only people who should run are the wealthy and the retired. Unless we hired a village manager, which is the other obvious answer, which we can't afford because You mentioned Potsdam at 86, but Ellenville and Maybrook, at least this is back in 2007, maybe my numbers are wrong, when you added up all the benefits packages and all the perks, was over about $100,000 to $120,000 a year for a village manager. What we really need is a village manager. We can't afford one. So someone's got to be here full time, and that someone is the mayor, unless you have a job, unless you are not independently wealthy, unless you're not a stay-at-home mom, unless you're basically one out of maybe every 1,000 members of the village community. So it's going to, whatever these salaries are set are going to determine who can run. And there's always going to be outliers and weird people like me who are willing to run and serve, knowing that it's going to cause impossible strains on my life to do so. So that's it. I know what's going to get decided tonight. I know exactly how the vote's going to go. And I'll have some very serious decisions to make in the next few weeks after tonight. So
we don't yet have a proposal on the floor, though.
Yeah, I know, but everyone knows how this is going to go. There's no, given the information that you provided, I'm pretty sure I know where you're going, Tom. But to talk to your research, I think that I think it's the exact right common sense place to go first to the NICOM salary survey. But I don't think it's apples to apples, because, like Ira was saying, every village is unique, and you had there was one village manager worked for $0 all the way up to $86,000, and then higher, because we know that Ellenville is higher than even that.
Oh, there are village managers who make.
I mean, you look on Long Island and Westchester.
On Long Island and Westchester, they could make the largest one. I'm sorry. Let me just, if I might, just comment on the largest. If you want to know what the largest one is, it's Scarsdale at $199,000.
That's the manager or the mayor?
The manager.
The manager, yeah. So the question is not really what other villages do, because this is the only policy discussion I've ever been involved in where the arguments being made are, well, they do it this way over here, so that's what we should do too. New Paltz always decides on its own what's best for New Paltz.
Or by email.
And I don't know what that means, but
lawsuit.
I still don't know what that means. The point is that I lost my train of thought now, and I was winding up, I swear. There are other comparisons to make. A first-year teacher, I talked to a school board member, a first-year teacher right out of college with no experience in the New Paltz School District makes between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. That's what this community thinks a teacher with no experience is worth. Mayors are apparently worth less than half of what a teacher with no experience is worth.
I mean, teachers are on union contracts. It's a completely.
It doesn't matter because the contracts are negotiated, as you well know, being in the room for us. The other comparison is, of course, the town supervisor, which is about as apples to apples as you can get. There are some obvious differences because they're different places. But a supervisor making $60,000 a year does not do triple the work that I do. I'll tell you that right now. No supervisor does triple the work that any village mayor does, at least not in New Paltz. So the fact that we also have a supervisor who then, on $60,000 a year, said publicly that she couldn't afford to live in New Paltz, and I believe at least temporarily moved to Gardner because of it, compounds the problem because of the legal requirement to live in the village, which is one of the most expensive places to live in the county. So I think that all of Tom's comps are the right place to start, but I don't think this is the right place to finish, because I think there are comps within our own community that make more sense. And that's the only thing I'm going to say. I'm not going to defend this again. I'm not going to clarify it. Those are the only points I wanted to raise.
Could I say one thing, just partially, if you will, in response to it? I want it clear that I have not spoken to any other member of this board except last night with Rebecca. It's the only other person I've spoken with about these.
We spoke about it briefly.
You and
I think at a meeting about something else. But yeah.
Yes, this was something else. So you and I spoke, and that's when I made a commitment to you that I would remain open. And I had not made up my mind, and I have not consulted with other members of the board. I did concede last
Oh,
night.
I didn't think anyone had.
Okay.
I don't think anyone had.
But then I want to be clear to the world that this was not a prearranged decision.
No, and I want to be clear. That's not what I was implying in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Thank you.
So, and then,
So Sally and then Rebecca.
I have several different things to point out. One, I think to compare yourself to the supervisor of the town really is unfortunate and not fair, and especially when you misstate what her salary in fact is. Number one, she has the governance of a population of 14,000. The village is only 7,000. The village has relinquished over the years many of the services that it should and could have provided, but it wanted to keep the village, and so it dumped off the police, and it dumped off the justice court, and it dumped off the assessor, and it dumped off the dog catcher. So I think to argue that they're comparable positions is a specious argument. Number two, I am really quite tired of year after year having this conversation.
So am I.
And since I'm the one that got us into trouble to begin with by increasing your salary on the understanding that it would be full-time.
Which it was.
I'm not going to go there. I'm going to suggest that this village seriously consider hiring a village manager to manage what we don't seem to be able to get done. And so I would argue that we should advertise for a village manager and keep the salaries where they are until such time as we can interview for a village manager.
Are you proposing that we change the budget, therefore, to include the salary and benefits of the village manager for the next budget year?
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, then we have to have some ballpark that would cover.
So we would be creating a new line?
That's what it was saying to.
And just keep in mind, a village manager takes a lot of your authority away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes, it
I just
does.
want you to keep that in mind. So.
But I just do not see how we can continue to argue over what people do, they don't do, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. That New Paltz is a unique place compared to anywhere in New York State when you, in your own comparable, quoted Brockport, which is a SUNY community, Fredonia, which is a community, SUNY community, Geneseo is a, Fredonia too?
No, I didn't vote for doing it because
okay.
they're not on the list.
Yes, there are.
I couldn't find them on the list.
It doesn't matter right this second.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, so I mean, you know, so we can make the case that we are a comparable college community. No, we're not. We're unique. We can't make the case that, you know, we don't do certain functions and that we're better than the supervisor of the town. It just seems to me that all of this is just becoming, as we know, I'm in favor of one government. I mean, this is not a new secret. Let's get one government in New Paltz, hire a village town manager, whichever you want it to be, and be done with all of the nonsense.
Rebecca, you were next. And then Tom.
Okay, so Tom, to clarify, you want to keep salaries as they are?
No, I'm willing to see a inflation plus raise that would then bring the mayor's salary somewhat higher. I mentioned one number, a 4% increase would bring the mayor's salary to $23,400. An 8% increase would bring it to $24,300. And 24,300 plus the 20,000 is what I'm using in my head as the round number for village management that we would be increasing.
Are you going to have any goals to go along with this?
If I read the municipal law and the position description of the mayor, I would find that those tasks would be adequate for me. So if the mayoral job is as it's described in municipal law and as it's laid out in some more detail, then that's what I would want the mayor to do. I'm also aware that the citizens are the ultimate evaluators of the mayor, that they're going to make a decision about it. Unless the mayor makes his own decision.
Right,
Which
yeah.
I mean, he is his own decider.
Only
Then
sometimes.
we do have to, by law, put it up for a permissive referendum.
No, you can't.
according to our
You
attorney.
can't put it up for referendum. The
Yes,
attorney said the exact opposite, Sally.
I will read to you.
You'd have to pass a local law.
Municipal Home Rule Law 23.
Sally, I'm sorry, Rebecca has the floor, and then you can.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I just had those questions for Tom. So Tom, if I understand correctly, you would care to propose, we're in Sally's motion right now, either a 4% or 8% cost of living increase.
Yes.
And in addition, you are interested in pursuing a manager in addition?
No, I haven't
Okay.
brought up the manager
No, I've
position at
withdrawn
all,
it.
except by comparison,
Okay.
as there's this one anomalous instance of a village, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Okay, but the other,
I think blah, blah, blah was verbatim.
Yeah.
but there was another $20,000 that
The
you...
$20,000 that I'm alluding to
Yes.
in all of these instances are the 10,000 plus 10,000 that we've already allocated
To our
to
two
two of our department heads
Mhm.
who will be acting, I would suggest, in lieu of the mayor's supervision of other personnel, and that will make them, in some sense, like
A village manager.
village managers.
Okay.
So instead of paying me to do my job, pay Nancy and Blue to do half.
Well, we're already proposing to do that.
Yes, okay. I'm sure it's a dead...
That was in addition to the other duties. It wasn't in replacement of
I
something.
understand.
I have always felt that the position of mayor should be full-time. And certainly, having spent some time as an acting mayor and also just over the years where I have been deputy mayor, I know it's a huge job. In the village of New Paltz, it's a huge job, and I think it should be considered full-time. And there's certainly so much more we could be doing if we had someone in that capacity who could afford to do the job full-time. I personally don't feel the need for an increase in, if I were to continue on as deputy mayor for another term, I don't necessarily feel that I need an increase. And unfortunately, this past year, well, the past few months, I've had a lot of medical issues, so that's kind of had, hindrance on my performance, I feel. But at the same time, there are responsibilities that come with each of our positions, and I think that compensation should be adequate for those responsibilities. Because it is, much of it, a 24/7 job. There was Jason, I believe, when he had a meeting to go to when we had the water main breaks and the fire down off Huguenot and off of Huguenot. And basically we've been in contact throughout the morning, you filled me in on everything. And when he had to leave for meetings, I basically walked down and walked up and down Huguenot Street until they were done, And it's just like, it really is a 24/7 thing because, all of us are responsible to some extent. And there are other volunteer boards and commissions who do not have that responsibility, and we do. And I think that's something that should be taken into consideration when these positions are discussed and deliberated in terms of salary.
Are you doing?
Yes.
Is there a motion on the table?
No, there's no
Katie?
motion.
No, there is not.
Okay.
Oh, I thought there was. Sorry.
I thought you moved and you
She
seconded for
withdrew-
purpose
she
of
withdrew
discussion.
it.
Oh, you withdrew.
Okay.
She withdrew.
Okay.
Ariana, do you have anything? You don't have to, but feel free.
I mean, I listened to what the public said tonight. We've all received, well, I think we've all received all the emails. And I've had a lot of people come up to me in the streets and talk to me about their thoughts. The one thing that people said tonight is that they felt like many of us go above and beyond what is expected of us in New York State Village Officers Law. And they said that, we're not properly compensated for the number of hours that we put in. And I agree, there probably is no way for us to be properly compensated for the amount of hours that we put in, but I feel that that's exactly it. I don't do this for the compensation. I do this because it's an honor to serve my community. I don't do this to make a living wage, and if I was in your seat, I wouldn't be doing it to make a living wage. I do this to make New Paltz and the world we live in a better place. That's all I gotta say.
All right, so there's no motion on the floor.
Well, I make a motion that we leave the salaries of the trustees as they are, and that we increase the salary of the mayor by 4% to $23,400 a year. That's my motion.
Is there a second to that?
Second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay?
I voted yes.
You voted already? All right. Well, that's done. Anything else with the budget?
I have one question. I found my question. TechSmith, we're not, it says to be done in-house 2014,
The
2015.
IT position. Remember that we're just now getting.
I know, well, that's what my question
That's
is.
where that money went.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Right?
You got that, right?
Yeah, I got the job description today. Yeah.
You gotta look it over.
I know.
Okay.
I know. It's on my list for tomorrow. All right, then if there's no other,
23,400.
if there's no other questions about the budget, going once, going twice, I'll move that we approve the final budget for the fiscal year 2014-2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I hereby declare a 10-minute recess.
Are you ready to adopt the budget?
We just did.
Okay, you have to make a motion to move the money in from the fund balance to support the budget. But that's a separate motion.
State the motion.
You're gonna move
We voted on
$243,697.
that.
You
Yes.
did?
Yes.
That exact amount?
Yeah, we did, yes.
Okay.
But it was originally
Nancy?
218,000 with
That's
25,000
why I was
added
doing
into the rest of
this.
the
Okay.
Nancy,
So-
that's why-
And you specified fund balance?
I did, I
Nancy,
promise.
that's why we did them item by item.
Okay.
Did you send me the description as well for the IT person?
I'm not sure.
I'll-
I'll check in the
Okay,
morning.
okay.
Yeah, I
Or
can
you
send it to
forward
you.
to me. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just have to review it to make sure it has everything
Yeah.
we
If I
wanted.
did or not.
Pardon?
Will you
I'm
send
not
it
sure
to
if I
all of
did or
us?
not.
Okay, I don't remember seeing it today.
Yeah, I got it yesterday.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
send the markup in
Okay.
case I have any changes.
I can show
Cool,
it.
thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
It was just for his
Great to
approval, so we can
finally.
get
Regarding the recently purchased property by SUNY New Paltz,
82 or what was the number on South Manheim? The new property on
Yeah.
South Manheim.
across from the campus, next to their parking lot. I asked the question as to whether or not they had already have intentions with what they are going to do with the property in terms of development, and the response was that they did not.
And I will agree to that being added to the minutes.
Thank you.
Yes?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No objection.
No,
Okay, thank you. All right, Sally, do you want to move on to Grove Street?
Yes, I'd just like to move that we call a public hearing for the proposed amendments to chapter 19810, and that is the car parking on Grove Street, that we amend 19817 handicap parking. They already have a handicap space, but it's not properly signed. And that we remove the map, which is an appendix to 198, because it's incorrect and we've already superseded it by code changes. And I talked with Blue and Nancy, and they feel that we just don't need it in the book and we shouldn't have it.
And you were okay with Will's suggestion to
Yep.
get rid of duplication? Okay.
Yep. So I'm just asking for
Second.
a hearing.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
When's that going to be?
The 23rd at 7:30 p.m.
Okay, so that was number 14 on the agenda.
Yep.
Let's go back to the beginning, because I don't want to miss it. We pulled number 3, the regatta, from the consent agenda.
Yep.
Sally, that was your request. Do you want to explain why?
I think everybody's request. My concern is twofold on the regatta. Number one, in the documents I saw, it talks about this being a joint venture between the town and the village. At our parade committee meeting discussions, the town says they do not sponsor the regatta. So this would those forms have to be corrected for that. Two, I'm very concerned about, and I see that Will addressed it, about the Riverkeepers report on the 92% unsafeness of the Walto River in terms of, do we call them pathogens?
Yes.
Okay, in terms of pathogens. So I think for a village event, I have no objection to the regatta, and I know people have a lot of fun with it. I just don't think it should be a village-sponsored event in light of the Riverkeepers report, and I also think that we have not budgeted for the traffic and safety part of the regatta. And if people want to have the regatta and have it be a village-sponsored function, then I think the village has to pay for the traffic and safety and not expect the town to absorb that cost because they do not sponsor it.
Okay. Well, then I will. Do you have a motion on the table? You were just expressing your
I was
concern.
just bringing up.
So why don't I do this? I'll move that we approve the regatta with 2 conditions. One, that the town is no longer listed as a sponsoring agency, and that the village pay for any expenses, any municipal expenses incurred by the event. That's my motion.
And you want it to still remain a
Remain a village event. I think it's an important community event for the village. I think it's important that the village be one of the sponsors of this event.
Just point of discussion.
Well, hold on. Is there a second to that? Because it doesn't matter if there's nobody seconds.
I want to speak to it, but I'll second.
Okay. All right, so Tom and then Rebecca.
There was a message, I believe, to all board members from Liz Harshaw during the past week or so concerning the regatta and the use of the wall count. And she was suggesting that because public safety could be an issue, that at least there should be a posting at the area where, at the boat launch, that the river has the condition that Riverkeeper data indicate. I think we should.
Are you putting that as an amendment to my?
Well, I want to bring it up as a point of discussion.
Yeah.
Didn't we also get a message from KT, who's on the Regatta committee, about? Oh, now I'm blanking. About it being, it's safe for boating, obviously, but we're obviously not encouraging people to swim, even though we know people fall out of boats. But that just happened.
It is safe for boating, by the way.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
We know that.
Yes.
If you fall in and get stuff on.
So what would you like to do about this?
I'm just thinking, as Dave Klaus mentioned, if you fell in right now, you'd be okay, except you'd freeze to death. But the enterococcal count right now would be quite low. But we're not going to have to do a garden now.
It's in about 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even right now. It's when there was ice cover.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not sure what.
Well, Rebecca has some comments.
Yes, let Rebecca say.
Yeah, I've served on the committee in the past, and the town at the time was definitely a co-sponsor, co-committee, if have you. Maybe not necessarily a co-sponsor in those terms, but they were definitely a member of the committee. They not only had someone from I believe it was the town board, but they also had our police lieutenant was a member of the committee, and he came to every meeting. So that's just for historical purposes.
Right, but right now, the town does not
want to
sponsor. So we can't, the forms.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Say town, and that's got to be corrected.
Do you remember how much when we were looking at it? I mean, this was far and away the most expensive parade. Do you remember how much it was?
The most expensive parade of all parades held in New Paltz. It even was more expensive than the lesbian, gay pride, the
LGBTQ
pride parade.
Q. Yep.
Whatever the initials are, it was for whatever reason the most expensive, and it was like $1,900.
I think it's because the street remains closed for so long.
That may be it.
That's definitely what it is. Yeah.
And my other question is, why do we charge people $1 to sign a waiver?
You'd have to ask the committee putting on the event.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, if it's a village-sponsored event, I think we should know the
That doesn't
answer.
mean we're in control of every facet of it. It means that we're a sponsor along with other sponsors. For example, all the businesses who donate money to have things like the Bouncy House or et cetera, et cetera. The Bruderhof who sponsor it and donate food and hand out free hamburgers. We're one of many sponsors. We're not the only sponsor.
Well, the form says at the top, Jason, the permission form to have it.
They need our permission to close public
No, it
streets.
says that we are sponsoring it. It says village.
It's on the
New Paltz
waiver,
sponsor.
Jason. We got emailed about it.
You mean to just waive the insurance sponsorship?
No, it's the indemnifying.
All I'm saying is that there are many sponsors and each contributes in some way. In our way, we have very particular ways we can contribute. That's all I'm saying.
$1,350 is how much it costs.
And they have not gone through the police yet. There is no approval for police on the form. And that seems to me to be a rather important thing.
Well, how has it been done in the past? Who's gone to the
This is the way it's been done in the past. To my knowledge.
It has always
The form goes to
Yeah.
the police department is
Right.
how it's supposed to work.
and we then approve it if we're going to approve it.
And usually it goes to the police department before it comes to us.
And you know what it cost last year, Ariane?
I believe $13.50. I believe is what it cost last year. Yeah.
Okay.
It might have been the year before. I don't know exactly when that figure was
that's
from.
a fair
but that
range.
was the what we were using when we were working on the parades and event forms.
And our attorney recommended that if we do go ahead and proceed with this, that we add a clause in to the waiver.
About pollutants.
Do I have it?
Oh, you mean like a hold harmless?
Pollutants,
I don't have that memo for some reason in my
it
packet.
came,
Oh, no, I
It wasn't in the packet,
I
it was
just
in
made,
the email.
it just may have slipped through the cracks of my email, that's
it's
fine.
not in the packet, it came as an email.
Were you done, did you have more comments?
And I don't.
You had the floor.
I'm
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and seconded, and I'll amend my motion to include the recommendations of the village attorney. If you will accept that, Rebecca?
yes.
Okay. So the motion on the floor is to approve it with
Pending police.
pending police approval, the hold harmless that our attorney recommended, and removal of the town listed as a sponsor, and that the village picks up the cost.
And the pollutants added to the waiver,
We
right?
said that,
Yeah, that was-
Yeah, we just said the attorneys.
And the village is absorbing all the costs.
Yes.
That's my motion, yes. We don't know yet because we haven't voted.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's my
And
motion.
don't forget, you're approving the porta potty.
Yes.
But
That's right.
the porta potty, our whole discussion about the porta potty would be for the regatta in 2015, not this
Right.
year.
We already budgeted the porta potty for this year.
Last year.
Whatever. Yeah. For this.
I'm not, I wasn't correcting you. I was saying we budgeted for this year.
Oh,
last
okay.
year.
Yes. Right. Yeah. All right. So, is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed.
Opposed.
All right. Motion carries. Now we have. Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. We've got number 10 and number 11,
I don't think people should go on the wall.
and I think that's all.
That's all I have.
And we took care of all of our
I'm concerned.
executive session business.
I think so.
Okay. So,
No, I don't think we should.
who? Ariana, is the parking you resident only parking?
This is Sally and I we discussed that we will come up with something that is a more solid plan to present. I mean, I had put it on the agenda because it's been brought to our attention a couple of different times, and I think it's important for us to address it. But since Sally and I are kind of the parking committee, we will come up with something that, you know, we've talked about decals for residents, so maybe we'll do something along those lines. You know, and we talked about it at Town Gown this morning, and Shelley Wright, you know, talked about how she thought that was a good idea, just in terms of decals.
And Jason and I, when we met with the president 2 years ago, talked about
Yeah.
the fact that we were
She
having a
brought that
major
up, yep.
problem.
Good.
And
I'm
so-
glad they remember that.
So.
Well, Shelley's on the Transportation Implementation Committee, so she's well aware of all our
So what we
transportation
would like
issues.
to do is think this out very clearly, think its implications out, come up with a really good plan. The concern that was raised in terms of we can't afford it, generally parking issues are break even or profitable.
Well, and I think with the new UTV, we'll be able to have
So what we would like to do
a quicker go
is
around.
really come up with a thorough plan and have it in place before September or before
Okay.
classes.
Yeah.
So this is not going to come up next week. It's going to come up over the next few months sometime.
Well, as soon as we get it ready, we'll alert you when you have time. and
We'll have breakfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So table that indefinitely.
Yes.
And I'm gonna.
We'll let you know.
No,
I'm
don't
gonna-
table it. Just say that you're going to give it to the parking
Just-
committee to come forth with
Okay.
a proposal.
Refer to the parking committee.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll move the draft resolution opposing the new capacity zone.
Second?
Any discussion? All in,
It just has to be tailored to fit New
Just-
Paltz.
I believe-
There's a blank.
just the blank.
Yeah, it's not
We'll-
tailored for another community.
We'll get
We
a
just have to fill
word
it in.
version from Jen so we can get it on letterhead and all that. You got that noted?
Yep.
Okay.
Is it not a Word version? Is it a PDF?
I assumed it came in PDF, but
I don't know off the top.
we'll check.
Okay.
We'll get a nice clean one that has the village letterhead and all that on it. So, any other discussion?
No.
Oh, we haven't actually had a vote on the other though.
And it needs
Yeah.
to
I
go
know.
out-
I'm
It
waiting.
needs to go out sooner than later.
Right. We can have it out tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, hearing no further discussion.
It's a Word
all in
document.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I move that we adjourn.
No,
Wait, what do
stop,
you mean?
please, please.
Rebecca. Wait, Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca.
Grab me first.
Okay, we didn't do announcements.
Oh, right. We forgot the announcement.
But I do have announcements, an announcement. The fire department held their election at the beginning of the month, and the results are Kevin McGuire remains as chief. Patrick Koch as first assistant chief. Scott Schulte, second assistant chief. Dylan Babcock, captain. Jay Werner, first lieutenant. Michael Amador, second lieutenant. Kieran Prosh, third lieutenant.
Kieran made it.
And then in the fire company, the election results are William Dubois, president. Joseph Miller, vice president. Patrick O'Donnell, secretary. Christopher Rickard, treasurer. And Lee John Fisher, foreman. And I'll hand these to you.
And at our next meeting, we'll have to make sure to get the paperwork.
And I have an announcement.
We have to certify the election of the officers, so make sure you get that paperwork from the fire department.
There is one thing that is not on the agenda and should have been on the agenda, and that I'm going to move it differently, and I'm going to amend the resolution regarding travel expenses for the mayor to California.
I was just going to do that next time.
Well, let's do it now.
Okay.
Authorize the mayor to receive a $500 advance from the treasurer, and when he returns all those and receipts submitted.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And I have announcements.
Okay.
Earth Week is coming up, and I realized that our next meeting is after Earth Day. So April 22nd, which is Earth Day proper, is the Earth Day Carnival on campus held by the Recycling Club in front of the Student Union Building on the concourse from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. April 24th is Farm Fest. It is in the Old Main Quad on the SUNY campus, and it is coupled with the weekly farmers market that happens on the SUNY campus. So for those of you who want fresh food, the SUNY campus has a market every Thursday. If you can't make it to the Sunday market, that hasn't even begun yet.
Has it started yet?
The SUNY market is all school year long.
Okay.
They do an indoor market in the winter, which is now moved outdoors. But that's April 24th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Old Main Quad. For anybody who isn't already aware, April 26th, that Saturday, is Clean Sweep. They meet at St. Joe's Church at 8:30 a.m. You can contact Sue Stagen to volunteer. And then April 27th is the Huguenot Street Earth Fair at the Huguenot Street Reformed Church from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I believe 10 a.m. is actually the service, and 11 a.m. is when the fair starts. And you can contact Jim or Janet O'Dowd. I think Janet O'Dowd is actually the contact. JanetOD@juno.com is who you would contact if you want to have a table or volunteer. And those are our Earth Day activities for this year.
Plus the meeting of the new Environmental Policy Board Commissions.
Jason, just so we do this absolutely correctly, I would like to do what I moved as a resolution of the village board. I moved it, $500.
Did we not approve?
We already approved that.
Yep.
It needs to be roll call, and I want to make sure that
Okay.
we do this
Okay.
correctly. Didn't
All right.
Jason
So-
shows as an abstain.
Yes.
And the rest of us show as yes.
Us.
So it's a vote of 4 in favor, 1 abstention. And will you have, we'll draw it up correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, I
I know
know
it's
village
really not
email is
Earth Day, but we
freezing.
could have announced the spring cleanup that starts April 4th.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would have been a good one.